In this movie, we're going to take the steps necessary to create a new session, look at some of the setup options that will make our session flow a little smoother, and to make sure we've got proper input and output into our session. And we'll look at some basic functions such as creating a new track and using the transport. So let's start by creating a new session. We'll go up to File and click New Session or Command N. Give our session a name. We'll call this First Session. Okay, as you can see, anything I type will appear in the bottom left of the screen, so when I start to do keyboard shortcuts, you'll see them down there. For our session parameters, audio file type will keep on AIFF. For a sample rate, 44.1. If you've got a 002 rack or you've got a 003 rack, you can choose higher sample rates for higher fidelity audio. As well, we'll choose 24-bit to get a nice robust sound. And choose Save. Okay, in Pro Tools, there are two main windows, the Edit window and the Mix window. To toggle the two windows, we'll hit Command equals. Or you can go up to the Window menu and choose Mix or Edit. The Edit window is identified by this thing at the top that has a counter. It's called the transport. And to the left of that are tools. And to the left of that is the different grid modes and some zooming. The very left of the window shows the tracks pane. The very right of the window shows the regions pane. And the center of the window shows where all tracks will appear. And sort of inconspicuously hidden down at the bottom, at the left and the right, are these two triangles which will show or hide the tracks and regions pane. Toggle to the Mix window, and we see the Mix window is much more blank, does not have a transport, and there's a tracks pane on the left, and then when we start creating tracks, we'll see them appear in the main body of this window. You may have noticed that there's a floating transport here, and this transport can be accessed by going to Window and clicking Transport, or Command and the number 1 on the keypad, not the number 1 on the number row. The number row is above all the letters on the keypad, or the keyboard. And we can show or hide different portions of this transport by going View, Transport, and then clicking Expanded or Not Expanded. Right now we'll have all the options expanded. We want to make sure that we've got in and outs going into our Pro Tools session, so we'll go to Setup and choose I/O or In/Out. I'm using a Digi 002 rack for this session. This device has 18 inputs and 18 outputs, but they're divided into analog and digital inputs and outputs. So at the top of this window, you'll see there are 4 tabs: Input, Output, Insert, and Bus. Right now, let's only concern ourselves with input and output. For our output, we want to make sure that we've got viable outputs. If we don't, Pro Tools won't let us record. And the way this works is this grid shows us the viable ports, the actual physical outputs on the device, and their numbers. So 1 and 2 are set to an output called out 1 and 2. We can rename this whatever we want. We'll get to that in a later movie. And the type of output it is, this is a stereo output, meaning it's a 2-channel output. That'll become more meaningful when we start to deal with stereo and audio files. Let's check input. For input, we've got input 1 and 2. That's set to analog in 1 and 2, so that's an actual physical jack that we connect in there. It's either XLR or tip ring sleeve, or quarter inch as it's more commonly known. And as well, I've set up input 3 and 4. The optical inputs are done via TIDIF, or an optical cable that's multi-channel. So it's one cable that has a lot of channels on it. And as well, there's SPDIF input, which sort of looks like an RCA jack, but it's got 2 inputs on it. We'll choose OK. Let's go ahead and create a new track. So the shortcut for that is Shift-Command-N for new. When we want to create new tracks, we're prompted to create a certain number of tracks, the type of tracks, And then the option for the type of track will change to the left of that particular drop-down. So for instance, if we choose MIDI tracks, the option is away. A master fader, it comes back. So we want audio tracks, and let's create one new mono audio track in samples. This is the ruler scale for the track, and we'll just let it default to samples or whatever Pro Tools deems is appropriate. Okay, and there's our track, and we can rename the track by double-clicking the title. We'll call it Drums. And you'll notice that it is a mono track because it's got a single VU meter strip. If we press Shift Command N again, and let's create a stereo track this time. This one has 2 VU meters. Okay, so that's a quick way to determine the difference between stereo and mono within your project. A few other extras that we can do right now is we can color our tracks. You see that we've got a blue color towards the left of the track. Choose Window, Color Palette, and we can actually select a track by clicking its name and then choosing a color to change the color. And the regions that are imported to this track will be that color. If we hold Control, Option, and Command and click, we'll actually change the color of the track. And that's going to be helpful later when we do submixing and creating stems. So those are some of the basic setup things that you'd need to get started with Pro Tools. And in some future movies, we're going to talk about importing audio, playing audio, editing, and all of that great stuff.